Today, Infinity Ward dropped a new blog post talking about everything DMZ and trying to explain exactly how this is all going to work, because after that reveal, it looked a bit concerning, so hopefully when we read through this, it will not be as concerning about this game mode. But with that said, let's not waste any time and jump over to this article. Now, actually, one thing, we're actually going to read this article in its entirety because it's pretty long, so I'm just, so I've actually read through this thing already, and I'm going to hopefully remember all the important parts of this article and only read those. And to start off all the important things is going to be this thing where it says DMZ is dangerous, diverse, and open world experience where players can choose their own level of intensity. Even in its earliest forms, DMZ experience is built for the most hardcore completionists, with faction missions, contracts, world events, stocking up on stash, and helping out other squads or causing chaos, breaking open locked areas, and much more. This living world has plenty to conquer on day one. So right there is the quickest summary of the main things you do in this game. Obviously, the first one is stocking up on stash, which is collecting stuff for your loadout, you know, guns, hopefully perks. They don't confirm this, but I hope that perks are going to be part of the things that you have to loot for your loadout. And then also there's going to be equipment, backpacks, satchels, and just stuff like that. So that's the main things you are going to be looting. But they also mentioned faction missions, which we'll get to later in this article, and also contracts, world events, which we'll also talk about later. But the next thing that I find interesting about this article is a little teaser here where they say, well, DMZ begins on Al Mazrah. No one quite knows where it may lead. So right here, they're teasing a new unique map, hopefully unique actually, for DMZ, which is something that potentially may be needed for this game mode, because I don't know if it was just the streamers playing like Warzone streamers, or if it was actually playing that weird in the gameplay, but it didn't seem like Al Mazrah played really well with DMZ, to be completely honest. So this may actually come and save the mode if they do release its own unique map, which hopefully doesn't need it, but if it does, then at least we know it's coming. Regardless though, they then start talking about your stash / inventory, which it seems like those are one and the same thing. Regardless though, they do talk about how the idea of these work, right? The idea, if you guys don't know of how game modes like this, is that you could choose, if assuming you have already looted in previous games, you could then use that loot to go into their matches, and then when you go into that match, you're obviously trying to collect more loot, but if you do die, you lose everything you win in there, you're going to lose. But there is an exception here, because they have two different types of guns. They have contraband guns, and then they also have insured guns, which the name kind of gives away what they do, but we'll talk about these more in a second. Regardless though, I think the next important thing that we need to read is this part where it says Call of Duty is all about customizing weapons. So we still want you to bring those creations into DMZ, whether it's a personal modifications for a weapon or a weapon blueprint. So yeah, what this sounds like to me, and what I think is going on here, is that when you go into to loot, attachments are not going to be a thing, and instead, to get your attachments, you just simply have to have your gun leveled up already, and then when you actually loot the gun that you actually have to loot for, then once you get that, you just put the attachments on straight away. That's what it sounds like to me. I'm not sure if I like that entirely, but I do understand this is Call of Duty and they don't really want it that complicated at the end of the day. So there is that. The next thing they talk about is those insured weapons, and they do a little bit explain how these work, but they also explain that initially you're not going to have many, or maybe even any insured weapon slots at all, but you could get more by leveling up your factions. So there is that. But how exactly do these insured weapons work? Well, let's read. If you lose an insured weapon, remember insurance takes time. Unless you're willing to pay the right price, extracted cash and valuables speed up the cooldown on these slots. So at least there is a little bit thing to counteract here, because sure, you can, like you say, there's like the meta gun, you can ensure that, but it's not like you just keep spamming it. Like if you keep dying over and over again, it's not like you just keep using that same meta gun over and over again. But instead, when you do die, you have to wait with a timer, and once that timer's up, then you can reuse that insurance gun. Now, of course, they also mentioned that you can lower this cooldown time by using cash and other valuables to speed up that cooldown, which is interesting, not because of it could slow down the cooldown, but it's confirmed something that I've wondered, is that if you collect a lot of cash, could you then take that out of game and maybe use it like in the menus, kind of like all the other ones like Tarkov, they have their black markets and stuff like that. So I'm curious if they're going to have something like that. I don't think they're going to have one at launch, but it seems like they have things set up for that. So potentially they will be adding a black market where you just buy loot there with the cash that you've been, I guess, collecting all this whole time. So potentially that's what could be going on, but at least we do have confirmation that you can use your money in the menu, so that potentially could be really cool. But of course, another thing they mentioned here that I don't want to skip over is that yes, you can level up your guns and in this game mode, which if you guys were wondering, yes, you can. So they don't, and you also can unlock your guns, which I'm sure is just leveling up. So yeah, you can get XP and weapon XP if anybody was curious about that. Another thing they mentioned is about these dead drops locations. There's going to be 6 of them in total that you could actually put your your loot in. So let's just say that you've been looting around, your backpack fills up, but you don't want to exfil yet. So what you do, head to a dead drop, leave all your loot there, and then collect more loot, then exfil, and then all the loot that you collected that is currently in your backpack and that is in your dead drop is going to leave with you, which is a cool little thing, but a little bit more risk there because you could potentially lose a lot of loot. Next, we get a little image of it with a new logo. Like the new logo a lot more. Regardless, though, they do mention a little bit more here, saying that DMZ is a trio-based game mode, but you can choose to go solo or duo. Of course, everybody else in the game potentially can be trio, so you have to worry about that, but at least you can play. It's a choice to play with as many people as you want, which is definitely cool, and I think it should work like this. Regardless, I think it should always work like this. Regardless, though, they do continue this even more to talk about the factions, and let's just read through this. To teach you how to play and give you those first rewards of DMZ, you have to accept faction missions. These are our world's most powerful PMC groups: the Legion, White Lotus, and Black Mortis, hopefully that's it like that. Regardless, says with Legion being your starting faction, with the other 2 unlocked by completing other faction missions. So I don't know, they probably will let you jump around from faction to faction so you can level up all 3 of them. And I mean, let's just continue to read this because it talks about how you level them up. By completing a certain number of faction missions, you can advance up a faction mission tiers. These missions offer significant challenges coupled with a significant unique rewards. Unfortunately, they don't say what those rewards are, but I hope that they're gameplay stuff and not just cosmetics or XP tokens, which is something they'll talk about here in a little bit. Regardless, though, and I keep saying regardless, I apologize, but hey, whatever. They do continue once again to talk about, well, this is obvious, but I guess I'll read it because they say, in addition to backpacks, players can exfil from the world with on-soldier items, including backpacks, self-revives, armor plates, carriers, etc. And this is the only reason I read this is because it seems like you actually don't spawn with a backpack, and you actually have to loot a backpack. So potentially when you first go in, it could really suck because you're not going to be able to hold anything except the on-soldier items, which could be a pain. Hopefully, crossing your fingers back, it's not difficult to get a backpack, because if it is, oh boy, that's going to be a pain. But also, another thing I think is worth pointing out is that self-revives are going to be something that is going to be able to be looted. So it seems like just like in any of these extraction game modes, you could just like collect a ton of like useful loot items, and then if you want to go into your next match and immediately do something difficult like a stronghold, you don't have to worry about looting up before that, because you already have all the good stuff you need to execute that stronghold. I guess, I don't know what to call it, just execute it, I guess. I don't know. So there is that, which I think is a very good thing, but that's how all extraction game modes work, so it should work like that. Next thing they talk about is the contracts and the world events, and they only talk about 2 of each, so I don't know if that's all of them or what. But for the contracts, they say there's 2 of them. There's rescuing a hostage and taking out a high value target. Both of these are pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I really need to explain them all too much. But then there's the world events, where they say there's 2 of them, saying there's the SAM turret or UAV tower. We don't know much about the SAM turret one, but they did talk about the UAV tower in a previous one, where you actually go to these UAV towers, and when you activate them, it gives you like a UAV for that area. So that's cool, I guess. But the next thing they mentioned that I think is I guess interesting. I mean, this is useful for DMZ, but it's also pretty useful for Warzone 2. And I didn't know this, but in Warzone 2 and DMZ, when you want to loot specific items, you could actually go to buildings where you would expect that. So it's kind of be like real life. So if you want some medical stuff, like maybe a self revive or stim shots or something like that, you go to a hospital. And if you want to get more military stuff like guns and stuff like that, you would go to a police station or a military outpost. So that's cool for DMZ. I don't know if that's cool for Warzone 2, but hey, that's cool for at least DMZ. Regardless, though, I think I said regardless again. I apologize for saying that about a billion times, but something that I think that most of us know, but for the people who did miss this in the gameplay, is that to go to these strongholds, you actually need a stronghold key. And the only way I saw people get a stronghold key in the gameplay was going to a buy station. So I don't know if that's the only way or one of the only ways or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But one thing I'm pretty sure you could do, I think they said earlier, and I kind of skipped over it, but you could actually exfil with this stronghold key, and then you could just like come back a different match. And like I said at the start of this video, that's or earlier, not start, you could just have yourself completely prepared for a stronghold. Like the whole idea of you going to a match will be just to go to the stronghold, so you'll have all your good guns, and of course you'll also have your stronghold key from the get-go. So that's just another thing that I think is worth mentioning. This is actually really cool. This is so cool. So let me just read it. Also, Al-Mazrah won't have a circle collapse, but players will need to monitor radiation as well as the occasional sandstorm. Cool. We don't know. We don't yet know what's causing this deadly energy and what operators can get. What operators may get from finding its source. So first things first. Occasional sandstorm, pretty cool. Think that's cool. Personally, I think that's a cool thing. So that should be fun to do or experience. But the other thing that is also a little bit interesting, not as cool but interesting, is the idea of these radiation things. Because if you guys saw the gameplay, you'd see that random radiation things would spread around the map and then close off and stuff like that. But it seems like you may be able to find the source. And since we do know that there are radiation pills that could lessen the effects of radiation, I imagine what they want you to do here is stock up on a ton of radiation pills and then just keep popping those until you find the source of it, and maybe something really cool is there. So that might be something to do day one to check exactly what's going on. But of course, you first have to collect all those different or a ton of the radiation pills. So that is there. Then of course they mentioned a little bit about rewards here, and here's where they say it. The rewards for your effort is double XP, double XP tokens, calling cards, weapon charms, and other cosmetics. Now, the only one that's interesting to me is this double XP tokens. Really, like, I don't really care about these other cosmetics. Maybe a blueprint might be cool here and there, but really, that's about it. But honestly, even the double XP tokens out of the coolest things they've mentioned here, I really don't think they're anything that significant, because I think the main goal of extraction style game modes is to get, the reward should be more gameplay stuff, like things that could help you in your next game, right? That's the whole idea about these style game modes. So I'm a little bit worried about that when I heard that, but then they said this to make it not as worrisome, but still a little bit concerned, because they mentioned that the ultimate reward for doing something, I don't know exactly what it is, but is the M13B assault rifle. This is a functional weapon, is a part of the Ruin Ops platform with a new BASP SMG. Can be yours across all of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 modes. So yeah, you can get a whole gun by doing something. Not entirely sure, but hey, that's cool. I wonder if there is going to be a way to unlock this in multiplayer or Warzone 2. Kind of hope there isn't slightly, but kind of do. I'm not exactly sure how I think they should handle it, but regardless, cool nonetheless. Either way, they continue to talk about, or they end this thing off now, and they talk about exfil. I don't know if there's anything significant said here. I mean, they just talk about the things that we already know. Like, you don't want to die and get a game over, because you'll lose all the stuff you have, all the stuff you looted, or all the stuff you went in there with that. Obviously, you don't want to lose that. That would be bad. But I mean, they do say a little bit here where they say We built a massive living world on Mazra, challenging enemies, a deep mission system, side quests, secrets, and more. We look forward to the future. We hope to reward players with exfiltration in the new ways as we work towards the new uses for cash and items. I knew it. See, I call it. I didn't actually read this last part earlier, but this is literally what I was saying. They're definitely going to add a black market. 100%. This just confirms it. Like new uses for caches and items, which is something I was also worried about because I saw all the stuff that they were just looting, like some random stuff. I didn't really know what you were going to do with that. So I guess we were actually going to use this. So honestly, DMZ really might not be it till they add these, because really I feel like that's what makes these exfiltration game modes, to be completely honest. So yeah. Anyways, let's just see what this last thing says. DMZ is not set out to replicate. I can't wait to see how it plays in the wild. We hope players can share their adventures with us, as well as feedback about their experience. See you on Al Mazrah beginning November 16th. And that is everything we currently know about it. Definitely a longer one here, guys. Why can't I see? Oh, yeah, I'm blind. Okay, but yeah, so that's everything. Yeah, interesting. I just feel like since it is starting, they're calling it a beta, which is probably safe because it feels like this is an early form of it, even though we heard they were working on this since Modern Warfare 2019. But I digress. Regardless, though, it seems like it may be a rough start, but hopefully eventually DMZ will get there and be the game mode that we all want it to be. And whether that really means that we have to wait till they add in all the black market stuff, or it means that we have to wait till they add in its own unique map, I don't know. But one of these days, hopefully it will get there. But also, hopefully it's a bit fun on launch too. That's probably important also. But regardless, though, that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about all this. Is this getting you excited for it? Are you still down on it, or were you always excited for it, or anything like that? Just let me know all your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Regardless, though, that's going to wrap it up for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely do all the normal YouTube stuff: like, subscribe, bell, share, and all that great stuff. But I'm gonna go, and I'll catch you guys next stream video, whatever the heck it may be, and laters, guys.